Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Okay, obviously nothing happened. So Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies for Halloween and just in general. I also really like the Beetlejuice musical that came out a few years ago. I went to see it twice. I was okay with the movie. Wasn't like my favorite thing. But because it came out this year, I did think it would be a great year to try the Beetlejuice costume that I wanted to do for a long time. And originally this was gonna be a Lydia Beetlejuice costume, maybe with the red wedding dress. But then the more I thought about it, I had seen a few people do the Maitlands, which the very stretched out ghost faces that happen in the movie. And I don't know what it was, but at the beginning of October, it got into my head and I was like, you know what? Maybe this year I can try something different. Something more crafty. I haven't really done paper mache in a long time, since I was a kid and I would make piñatas, but I felt like I could get the hang of it. And I did see some other tutorials of what people were doing to make those type of costumes with paper mache. And so I thought I'd give it a try. And so this is how I made my Barbara Maitland costume. I started doing a prototype and I used some wire at first that I was using wire with some paper bags. But I wasn't really quite feeling this one. I thought it was really flat. I didn't have a lot of control over the wire shape. And it was really uncomfortable to put over my head. I was using like a baseball cap as the base. And I quickly realized that it was going to be too heavy for the baseball cap. And I wasn't feeling it. So I scratched this prototype and I started again with a different base. This time using a visor. It was like a plastic visor thing. One of the few things that I bought because I was trying to use as much recycled materials as I could. And so the visor was like $5, and because it's plastic, it just felt like it could hold better onto my head, and it just was like tighter. It just was a better base. And then from there I used duct tape and more paper bags to cut out the shapes exactly the way I wanted them, as opposed to like the wire, which was very like not quite exact. And I also used some more like thick cardboard to hold on to the sides especially. So once it was all pasted together, I started doing paper mache, which is, good old glue, paper, and water. That also used some paper bags that I had left over from Trader Joe's. And so most of that was just, covering the whole thing, kind of shaping it as I went. That's when like things really got interesting. And I also created the tongue separately for the shape. As somebody had done the tutorial where they had done it around the face and then left like a hole in the middle that they would later cover with fabric so that you can kind of see through it. So that was my plan. I did the same thing. I kind of left that hole and I tried it on a few times. It was kind of working okay. Again, a little heavy, but I ended up making it a little bit bigger than what it looks like in the movie. But the good thing about it is like it kind of sits on my chest once I wear it. So it feels a little safer, and that I don't know how, but it's holding onto the visor for dear life. So it felt secure enough. So after doing a couple of paper mache layers just to make sure that it was like as workable as possible, I also got some air dry clay from the craft store, and I started creating kind of like the details of the face, starting with like the stretched out eyes and nose. I also kind of, to make it more three-dimensional, created like the lips and like the stretched out marks in the side of the face. And so that way the shape was including kind of like the inside of the mouth in it. And I think that really helped to make it look, again, three-dimensional. I wasn't really happy with how the top of the face was a little flatter than the bottom, but I ended up working that out later. And once that was dry, I had also painted it white before I went in with the air dry clay, so the whole thing was white and it was like a base ready to be painted. I did not record myself painting for a long time because I kind of got so lost in the actual painting that I forgot. I really did just spend like a whole afternoon painting it, and I had a really great time doing it. Honestly, time flew by and I forgot to take videos. But basically what I did is just I got black, white, red, and like brownish colors, and just with those four paints, acrylic paints, I went with the skin color first with like a layer of just the brown, and then I would either water it down with the white, or not water it down, but like lighting it out with the white or darken it with the black, combine it, and then do like details like the creases and like little things that would just make it pop up more. I went with quite a few layers. At some point I went with like a slightly darker, like muddier brown for the whole thing, and I think that really helped. And then I did the same thing with Mal. I started with a pinkish red, like with white, and then I went darker red, and then I just kept going darker and darker as I went. And then I also painted the tongue the same way, like just started with red, and then I did like a darker line in the middle, and then like put more red on top. So you just kind of keep layering and layering and layering until the color looks quite right. And or sometimes I would water down the paint a little bit so it would not be as harsh. I definitely did like a ton of layers of paint, especially in the inside of the mouth, and like sometimes went with really dark red, sometimes went with like straight up black, especially around the face to create that, like kind of make it not visible once I put on the black fabric. And the black fabric that I used to cover the hole was just fabric that I already had in my stash. It might not have been the perfect fabric because it was like kind of like an elastic spandex type of fabric, but it was the only black that I had, and I really didn't want to spend any money buying fabric, so I used that, and I can kind of see through it. Maybe I'll make a video showing how it looks like on the inside. It's not very visible, especially because there's the two eyeballs in the middle there, so they cover some of the view. If there's some light, I can see better. If it's dark, I definitely cannot see anything, but I don't wear it for very long, so it kind of worked. And then after all the paint was dry, I used more air dry clay because it's already white. It worked perfectly where I could just, make the shape of the teeth and then just kind of glue them in with some Mod Podge. And so that was really fun. I made like a million teeth and then just kind of went in and put them in place. I kind of just went with my own tooth shapes. I wasn't really following the reference, so I made some like sharper ones, but I thought it was fun, and that the creation of the teeth kind of covered that like really sharp edges at the top especially, so I was really happy with that. And then I started pasting all the details. Like I added the tongue that I did separately. I had these eyeballs that I don't know how we had those eyeballs from like a past Halloween, and so perfect. I just used those. That just kind of make the whole thing come together. At that point, I think all I did was seal the whole thing with Mod Podge, or at least the inside of the mouth, because I wanted to look like slightly more wet and like shiny. But I did not put Mod Podge in the rest of the face. So yeah, that was kind of it. I did go with another layer of paint before the Mod Podge once the teeth were dry, just to like have them blend in more. They were so white. There was like, oh my god, there's like no cavities. I kind of wish that I had yellow paint so that I could go back with it, but I ended up just leaving them white and then like adding some details like some red and black at the bottom of them. And that was it. That was really it. It was like a little faster than I thought, and I was really happy with it. So I got probably 80s, probably 90s vintage dress that I found online on Depop, and I thrifted it. It fit me perfectly, and I actually really like the dress. I might keep it and just wear it for like random things. It was really fun. And I just wanted like some sort of 80s floral dress. It's not exactly like the movie, but it gives the same vibe. I also printed out the book cover for the handbook of the recently deceased, and then I just put it on top of a book. And I also had a wig that I used for my Christine Daae Phantom of the Opera costume that I already had it, and it was perfect because 80s hair, Gina Davis, perfect. So with that, my costume was kind of ready. I also, because I had time, I went ahead and made a little bob head with crochet. I just crocheted it. I found a video on YouTube, and I can post it down below if you want to check it out. Not the best tutorial, I will say, but I got the pattern out off of it because I found this pattern on Ravelry, but it was gone. So this was, I think, the same pattern that somebody made a video of. I used mostly yarn that was in my stash, so it was also kind of a way of using up some of those remnants. And I stuffed it up with some pillows and like a shirt for my husband. And here's the final result. I had so much fun making this costume. Every time I wear it, also, even though I can't see anything. It feels really cool. I cannot wait to see what you guys think and what my friends think when we have our little Halloween party. I really never thought that I could make something like this. I never thought that I could just like make a mask like so crazy like this, and the way that it came out is just makes me so happy. So that's how I made this Halloween costume. I almost wish that I had also made the man Adam's face, but I think it's not as interesting and fun. This one's really the most fun one, so I'm glad that I got to wear it. And yeah, I hope you have a great and fun crafty Halloween, that you enjoy a lot of candy, that you wear some really cool costumes, and I will see you on the next one where maybe I will have more knitting, crochet, or sewing. But in the meantime, happy crafting and happy Halloween!